when things initially happen, especially two random people in that scenario, there is no considerations made for either party. You don't know each other. You have no idea what the intention of that person is. Woo! Here he is.
Welcome back to Almost Cool, baby. We got thunder in the background.
We got you in the back. We got you back.
we got me back.
You're back, baby.
It is so great to be back talking to such a beautiful person. And Martin, because I talked to him.
I knew you were going to Oh man, you've had a couple rough weeks, man. Everything's like, I'm not gonna say smoothing out, but everything is, kind of leveling out a little bit. Or
I sure would like that to be true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've got a couple other little things on the mental docket to take care of, but we're moving right along. Okay, but
patience is a virtue, man.
Also, everyone, welcome to, hopefully, unless I'm completely wrong about this after trying to edit it, welcome to our very first video recorded episode.
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody. It's the first time
excited.
we got it squared away finally, it feels like.
I know. Trial and error, denial and error. You got it all.
It's so funny what all the past episodes that we were kind of preaching about, like laziness and choosing. We talked about choosing the right career last week. Like all these little things to get this video running. We practiced like procrastinating and being lazy and like the different subjects that we've talked about. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's like funny to talk about it so heavily, and then when it comes to practicing it, you're like, oh shit, you're right. I gotta rear gear this. Like remind myself.
Oh man. Okay. Well, actually, just a little quick side note. Hey everyone, this is an editing part, so don't even listen to this. Martin, you're looking a little grainy, buddy. Is everything? How do you look on your end? Just
yeah, everything looks good on mine. And
okay, dope.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Hell yeah. And we're back. All right. So today, Marty boy, we're talking about judgment.
Judgment.
And judgments. Oh. Boy, watch me. But I think, okay, so we've been sitting on this topic for a couple of weeks now. Obviously, I haven't been able to be here due to family matters, and, Martin, along with Ben and Bailey, have been able to just kind of talk about their own things and really keep the ship afloat. And also Ben and Bailey, so thankful for y'all. Thank you so much for stepping in. I love y'all. Y'all are fantastic. But this outline for this episode has just been sitting on my desk for 2.5, 3 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of look at it and I'm like, let me think about this a little more. Let me think about that a little more. And I think I've come to a couple of solid thoughts about it.
Yeah. I'll be the judge of that. Sorry.
But yeah, you're right. We need a soundboard. But first of all, I think we as people, oh my God. Y'all, it's like
wow.
Second coming of Katrina out here, boy.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're in New Orleans, man. You might need to...
It's nasty. I got my boat out of storage earlier, so we're good. But I think that we as people are far too quick to judge. And I know that seems like a simple statement, and that seems like, duh.
Yeah.
That seems like such a, oh, wow, you've been thinking about that for 3 weeks? Like, that's your big conclusion here? Yes and no. Because y'all don't be quick to judge that statement right there, because after thinking about it, I'm like, okay, yeah, that seems like a really elementary way of thinking about it. But after my 3-hour drive to Mississippi the other day, I'm just kind of really trying to get this through my head of why I'm so quick to judge and why I feel like other people are so quick to judge. We have these preconceived biases about just people in general. Like, we hear all the time that, you know, if someone doesn't mesh with you right off the bat, then you don't want them around. Mm-hmm. Or we're so defensive that we don't want to give people a chance to even introduce themselves. So we kind of just subtly think, just in the back of our minds, think of reasons why we don't want to talk to them, why we don't want to associate with them, I should say. And that kind of halts us from being able to branch out, meet new people, and actually just like people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And off of that, it branched out into, okay, so if we're doing this in the back of our minds, that means that we judge people subconsciously. Because we actively also have that that conscious, like, okay, I don't like the way he dresses. I don't like the way he talks to people. We have that forward, outward judgment in our brain, in the forefront of our brains. But in the back of it, we have these little bits and pieces as to just looking at someone, we already start to think negatively about them. And whether that be from stereotyping, whether that be from any of the isms out there, we don't want to associate with them without even them hearing a word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like without giving anything a chance, and you already
exactly.
have like
Anyway, so that was just like the first big thought that I had.
Yeah.
And well, sorry for being so quick to jump on it. It's just I'm so antsy to get back to recording.
It's so that thought right there really it just kicked a memory into like maybe why people do that, and like why I'm guilty of it too. I judge people on appearance, and I think like not like harshly. I don't think I think everyone has like, you know, don't judge a book by its cover, but everyone at least like profiles you in some way, you know, like based on how you're dressed or the way you're walking or the way you're acting around people,
right?
Like things like that. And then like you were saying, it's subconscious, because a lot of the things that it's like a trigger. It's like you just do it with like, it's a habit, and it's like something you have been doing for so long that it's like you build up a, what do you call it? A tradition or a habit, or like, you know, something.
It's muscle memory.
Yeah, you muscle memory. Yeah. You train yourself. So whenever the situation comes up, you're instantly doing that, and you're like running through all those judgments in your head. And I think, that just stems from growing up in like, no matter what world you grow in, you're growing up in some kind of bubble. Like you're under your parents' wings for a second, and you're in your parents' bubble, and then you go to school and you get a little older, and then, you know, you branch out a little bit, but you're still in like a bubble of your high school or like,
right,
you know, things like that. Like you're still learning and adjusting your life to the things around you, and everyone is doing that all around the world. It's just like in this little self-contained thing, and for some reason, I don't know, it just kind of, it made me think of, you just, like when you branch out of your bubble is your normality. Like you're so conditioned to these, you know, set of standards and the way you live life and this certain little thing in your little bubble. And then you branch out and you start learning how other people and other cultures and just everything is working. And but you're, you know, if you're trained to like, oh, if it's different than anything that I'm doing, I'm going to judge it and it's weird, you know? It's like, oh, wow. And I don't. It took me a while to kind of catch those little like judgments of like, just because people are doing stuff different than me, that it's not either wrong or bad or, you know, something like that. It's just different. It's like, and I think it's like a very, you have to expose yourself to certain environments and certain things to understand why people do the things that they do and things like that. And but you know, it's you kind of just, it's like judging somebody initially is like putting up a wall. It's like you were saying, it's like, oh shit, you're doing that, I don't know if we're gonna be friends. And you're like, what? That's just different than something you do. It's not necessarily wrong, or
exactly.
And
I totally understand what you're saying. I love it. I think, like you were saying, that we each have our own like just upbringing bubble or cultural bubble in general. It's quarantining before quarantine was cool. What's up?
Exactly.
But like, But we develop these fears of other people. Like anything different, we're automatically just, oh God, that makes me uncomfortable. Oh man, this is like making me cringe. Oh God. Like, and you don't really want to be around it, but you don't want to understand why that makes you feel bad or uncomfortable or uneasy. And so you never have a chance to be like, to actually hear someone out and be like, oh no, I do this. Okay, so perfect example. Growing up in Louisiana, I call everyone baby all the time. It's just, if you go into a grocery store, you'll be called baby 4 times while you're trying to check out. It is like, oh, what's going on, baby? How you doing? All right, here you go. All right, have a good one, baby. Like, that's just how we talk down here. And when I first moved to Kentucky, didn't know that was bad outside of the bubble, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like walking to the student center, just kind of taking my little self tour, trying to explore around. And I opened the door up for this girl because she had, like, you know, things all in her hands. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. I was like, oh, no problem, baby. And she's like, pretty much dropped everything and, like, kind of scolded me about, okay, first of all, don't call me baby. I was like, oh, no, that's not what I meant. Like,
yeah, I'm
like,
not hitting on you. I'm just...
No, that's how I talk. Like, that's how I grew up talking to people. And so she was so quick to judge in the fact that she thought I was like trying to make a move on, trying, you know, forward.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Dang. It's the wrath of that girl coming back.
Bruh.
She's watching, man. She's listening.
Woo! She is mad. That's what it felt like.
That's exactly what it felt like.
I just got this clap back, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, and I didn't understand. And then now that I thought about it, because after talking to a number of people, and they're like, okay, I don't like when people say baby. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was judged quickly, just from the jump, automatically, and not a chance to defend myself, not a chance to say, oh no, like, I'm not doing that. She just kind of stormed off. And that's one less person I'll be able to, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's
to talk to.
Yeah, and I think, like, I don't want to counter argument that, because she was really quick to judge you, like, what your intentions were with that comment and stuff. I have, like, a hard time though with, you know, it's like that word baby. I don't have a problem with it if someone says it to me.
Yeah.
But in the bubble of like Kentucky, I don't know. Maybe it was just like she got called baby one too many times before or something. You know, it could be like maybe your reaction. I'm not saying you were judging her on her reaction, but, you know, it's like, this is why judgment is, this is why it infuriates me, is that when things initially happen to, like, especially 2 random people in that scenario, there is no considerations made for either party. You don't know each other. You have no idea what the intention of that person is. So if you're jumping to a conclusion when something like happens like that, you know, I just think, like, I'm not saying she was in the wrong for calling you out, in the sense of, like, maybe in the way she was brought up, baby is an endearing thing, and it's like, oh, he's hitting on me, I don't like that. I don't think,
right, yeah.
But, you know, but to you, it's a normal, completely just everyday conversation banter thing. And I just, like, with the differences that you both had, like, both of you have to move through that door without being like, oh, that was what that was. Because if you're already, like, conditioned to making things what they aren't actually are, that's a terrible habit, and you're gonna blow up on people like you did, like that girl did on you. And you're so quick to.
It was one of those things where I didn't understand why I was getting yelled at all of a sudden until, like, 10 minutes later, where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, people think baby is like a superiority complex or something. Like,
it's,
you know what I mean? And so I was like, all right, that makes sense. And don't get me wrong, totally not mad. I don't hold any resentment. I'm like, that girl,
she's gonna,
blonde girl.
I just
hate you. No, there's none of that.
It's just, I don't know, when you just get too caught up in your own conditions and your own biases and your own things, and when you jump, like, and I don't know, I am struggling with this, because initial judgments are, I'm not going to say they're totally invalid, like surface level judgments.
That's fair.
Sometimes in the conditions of keeping you safe, I'm not saying, if you're like, what, like this would be something where you're judging a book by its cover, but it's for your own safety. Like, let's say you're
Yeah.
walking home at night and someone is in a hood and you can't see their face. You don't know anything about them. It's dark out. And then you're going to like cross the street just because, like that person to you looks sketchy, whether he's not, or like whether he is or not. I don't like, if it's involving personal safety, something like that. Yeah, make the judgment and cross the street. Just because, I don't know. If you were saying, oh, it's because of his race, or if it's because of his sexuality, or if it's just because like he looks weird, and like in a way where it's just like you're making fun or like just being so uncomfortable for no reason, then push the brakes. But I mean, there's like an instinct in me to. No, it's good. Just like I think there's an instinct in me to judge based on my personal safety, and those judgments I feel like are warranted, because when you're thinking about your own safety and your own, like mine aren't rooted in, oh, that person is of a different race than me, or that guy or girl is a different is wearing something I just don't like, or like something. I'm not going to cross the street for any of those reasons. But the conditions, I would be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna maybe take care of myself a little bit. And that's the thing too, is like if that judgment does hurt somebody, I don't like to hurt people's feelings, but this is where I kind of disconnect, where I'm like, I don't care. I'm doing this for my own personal safety, and I'm just like, you being mad at my judgment, my surface level judgment is keeping me safe. So I'm just like, I don't and I don't know, maybe like it's a thing that I imagine extremes with this, like someone's walking with a hood and a baseball bat in their hand down the street. Something I'm thinking of, like, like the stuff that your mom tells, like, don't talk to strangers. I don't know, like something stranger danger is. But yeah, my those are like very rare in my life, though. Like I've never been in a situation where I really had to make a call like that. Thank God.
Yeah.
But I think like sometimes, because I listen to so many podcasts, not so many, but like crime podcasts.
All the time.
If somebody had like an initial judgment on somebody, like, oh, I feel weird, like my gut is telling me not to do that, and I don't understand it. And I like, it's got to be a gut feeling, and that's where your instinct kicks in, and you're like this.
You're taking the words like right out of my mouth. So I thought about that this morning, where it's like, okay, yeah, like we always say, first impressions don't matter. They're bogus half the time. That doesn't mean neglect your instincts. If you feel uneasy about something, or you feel like, I don't know, like this seems a little sketchy, dude, flight or fight.
Yeah.
Fly away, baby. Get out of there.
Leave yourself.
But oh God, what was I saying? It's like, ooh, yeah, pretty much what you were saying, in the fact that try not to judge based on looks alone, because you never know, right? You never know who a person is.
Yeah, exactly.
But at that same time, if you get that gut feeling, then don't ignore that, because that's, we have that sixth sense, we have that alertness, that subconscious alertness for danger of like, oh God, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
Listen to that. That's important. Keep yourself safe. Keep yourself safe in the world and conversation.
Yeah.
And just, who you surround yourself around. But when I say, I don't know if I'm speaking for you on this as well, but when I say first impressions are bullshit, it's that some people put on these facades, and like I've met multiple people who, when you first meet them, like I always feel this way if I start a new job, and I meet my coworkers, and half of them are trying to be super nice and give you that, like, it's like, oh, this person is so cool, like I just want to hang out with them, they're going to be looking out for me. Or there's the people who are like, you don't want to mess with me, like I will mess you up if you talk to me, if you look at me cross, if you do any of this stuff. They put on that, oh yeah, I'm tough.
I'm the macho.
T-U-F-F, I am me. Like, they...
Yeah.
Welcome to the Salty Spittoon, how tough are you? Like, they hit you with that. But when you get to know them further, most of the time those like kind of go by the wayside, and you're like, oh no, you're just like either the nice people are really backstabby and do stuff behind your back and try and get you in trouble, or the really tough people are just need someone to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
honestly,
all it is.
yeah, it's always funny when I totally agree when starting a new job. Like when I started with Arcadis, for everybody, it was before quarantine too, so I was actually in the office and getting to like be around my coworkers. They're all so much older than me, and I was just I judged them based on their age, which I probably shouldn't. I was like, how am I going to be friends with someone that's clearly older than me by 15 years? Like I can be like, we can be cordial and we can say things and have conversations, but we're not going to be friends in that case, but
Okay.
and so I initially put up a judgment on like everyone here is so old, not old, but everyone here is much older than me and have already formed these relationships, and I don't want to come off as a young, immature, like I'm new to the company, like Martin's here, like kind of mentality. So I want my superiors to think I'm capable, intelligent, and can get the job done without but also like being a great, nice person. So I hypen up the niceness a little bit when you first start, putting on a little bit of a facade, which is, I don't know, it's why I'm so disconnected from jumping to judgments on people, because if you're judging someone based on the first time you meet them, you can be like, oh, that was nice, like they have the capability to be nice, at least I think that's what where it stretches out for me is when we first meet you and you're nice to me, you're polite, we have a great conversation, we can laugh maybe, or just, and it goes well, and then we leave. The only thing I'm taking from that first impression is that you have the capability to do those, like be nice and do all that and like treat me the way I want to be treated when I leave. I'm not judging you like I don't have the judgment of like, oh, they're like that as a person. I can just say, hey, oh, I only met you once.
Right.
You have the capability to do that and make people feel comfortable initially. But like get to know someone for a month, see how they act. Or like, and I'm sure this happens all the time with friendships. Like you start an initial friendship and you're like, okay, and then a month in, you start getting comfortable. You start like, okay, you start doing things that you probably wouldn't usually do, and you start acting different ways. And if you're have friends that are into what you're doing, then they're going to be like, this guy just keeps getting better, because then you start being your real self. And then, but think about like when you're putting up that facade, or someone is, and then a month in, it starts like your judgment. If you already created a judgment on like, oh, this is a nice guy, this is a great guy, or the great girl, or whoever it may be, and then they start going like a different direction. Like they start being kind of an asshole to people, or you start noticing like maybe they yelled at the server last time you were at lunch or something like that.
Right.
I feel like it's then you're like then you had that judgment or that you put them as a good person, and now you're gonna justify like, oh, maybe it was just one time that they're not, they were just that mean, or maybe like they were not that. So you justify it for them, for their sake, instead of just having like I don't know. That's why I'm not quick to judge, because if I judge you as a good person and you start doing the opposite, I can totally see myself being like, okay, well that was an episode, or that was an experience at one time, and then you justify it, and then that person is still a good person to you when they're really not.
This is such a good point. Okay, I love that. I love that you said that, because that just made me think about 2 episodes of the podcast that we had: the listening and communication episode, and then the accepting being wrong podcast episode, where we are so prideful in our own judgments, in our own decision making. Like, okay, yeah, I can totally read people. What's his name? Jeffrey Dahmer. He was great. He's a really nice guy. And you'll still defend Jeffrey Dahmer anyway. Or who's your boy that oh gosh, he was in all the murder documentaries like a year and a half ago.
Oh,
Zac
Ted Bundy.
Efron played him. What's his name? Ted Bundy. Everyone thought that Ted Bundy was so smooth and charming and sweet. And like even after he was convicted for murder, people were still at like the hearings defending him for being so sweet and charming and nice. Even though he killed like 17 people.
There was like posters. Like people were standing out with posters like,
you know what I mean?
He's not, save him. Like, what?
Good Lord. It's that we get so blinded and so caught up in our own truths about people and situations. That and the fact that, this is becoming one of my favorite things to say too, is the fact that we think in absolutes far too much, is that I can't be wrong. If I get a read that you're a good person, that's how I'm going to think about you. And if you do something, I'm going to defend that. If you do something that goes against that judgment, I'd be like, oh, well, yeah, exactly. He had a bad day. Or, oh, yeah, she got a flat tire this morning, really put a damper on her mood. She's usually not like this. This girl has a flat tire every freaking week, apparently, because she's always, going. But we don't accept our own judgments as wrong sometimes until it blows up in our face. How many times have, I know this has happened to me a lot. How many times have you been like, you have this huge falling out with someone and you're like, I can't believe they did this. I never saw this coming. And when you look back on it years later or months later, you're like, dang, I really saw that coming. Yeah. I just didn't listen to myself. And it's like we're trying to make ourselves right. We have that fear of being wrong.
Yep.
And we don't want to accept that. And so even when we make a bad judgment call, we're going to defend that tooth and nail just not to be wrong about it.
Just not to be wrong. And especially, because it's proving yourself wrong. Sometimes it's like, oh shit, I'm stupid. Or, oh man, I should have seen that. Or like, oh, it's like you get self-humiliated. And and really you should be like, oh, I'm so happy I finally figured this out. Or I should be like on the other side. You should be on the other side of the coin. Be like, oh, I'm glad I figured this out now and not 10 years from now or something like that. It's
exactly.
But yeah, I kind of growing up, I had the kind of an opposite like mindset, especially when like in my younger, like thinking of high school, mainly high school and early college, where I kind of geared my life a lot out of the fear of being judged. So what I would do is someone a guy on our Instagram gave us a book review because he listened to the mad episode or the angry episode.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad he listened because I was rambling all about those books and had no idea what I was talking about. But he saw where I was going. He saw my mental process and he was like, okay, I'm gonna clarify it for him. So we had a very nice, awesome guy send me a book recommendation on that episode specifically. Oh fuck! What was I gonna say? Oh, okay. Thank you. So the book is about. It's like I know. I just said thank you to myself. I know. Hey, you got to affirmate yourself all the time. The book, he was like, synopsis of it was, we have 1,000 different selves externally, but only one inside who we like really are. And you fight, and your daily battle is like, which person am I going to be today?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the way I, like, as a younger, immature, like, person who really didn't know what things were going on, I lived my life so much out of the fear of judgment that I would gear the way I acted to something that I thought you would like.
Yeah. And
so when I hung out with my church friends, when I was in youth group in high school, none of them knew I smoked weed. None of them knew I was involved in
a cult,
doing some and it's like hood rat shit with my friends or something,
Yeah.
And they thought I sang in church and like did all that stuff. So they thought to them, I was polite. I was always kind. I was always like, "What's going on, everybody? Jesus." And they viewed me as like what I imagined, not literally, but what I imagined as a perfect person in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for every scenario. So when I hung out with skater friends, I would be like smoking weed, we'd be skating, I'd be cursing, I'd be doing my, things that I wouldn't do around my church friends.
Did you say cursing?
Because I wanted, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I know. And so I And then you get around your family, and then you're somebody different. You're like, oh, I'm gearing not. I'm a little more comfortable with my family, so I was actually probably more my true self in front of them than I really was probably anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I struggled with that. Like, even getting to college, there were so many like different groups you could be a part of, and so many clubs, and so many. I had my hand in a little bit of everything, and felt like my schedule was always booked for at least a little while. But anytime I switched scenarios, it's hard to say I'm not changing who I am. I still had like these core values and beliefs and standards I held myself in every situation.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes like that level just like it fluctuated, and depending on what situation I was in.
Yeah.
And I was being I mean, you can call it being fake a little bit, probably. Like, I definitely like told some people in my church group that I didn't smoke weed. So that's lying right there to save face for myself in that group. When damn well all my, my best friend from home had been like, "Do we do that every day?" Like, so I lived my whole life out of the fear of judgment, where I didn't want to be judged and I wanted to be liked. So I just constantly changed, like I was trying to control my perception of myself to people. And then something happened to me. I met some really good friends of mine. I had some really good conversations with people about this scenario, because I finally broke. I finally was like, damn, I feel like I'm 15 different people, or like, everyone knows me as this. I think like the overlying, like, charismatic, has a good time. Those kind of things are always,
they translated over. Yeah.
It translated over to every group, but it didn't necessarily, but like, thought patterns and the way people perceived me was a lot different in each group. And it got exhausting. So I snapped. I was like, fuck this. I'm tired of this. I want to, when I started drinking around, like I went to a party with this Christian group in college, and I had a bunch of friends in there, and I just started drinking, and I ended up drinking a little too heavy and had to call my buddy to come get me. And in the scenario, it wasn't belligerent or anything, but I was in this group. I just kind of broke and was like, I don't give a shit what you guys think of me anymore. So everyone in that side of the group was like, oh my gosh, Martin's drinking pretty heavily. Should we say something to him?
We were wrong about Martin.
Should we do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then really, no, it set in where like weeks after that, I started hearing like whispers and being like, oh, Martin's actually this way. And I got kind of self-conscious about it.
Mm-hmm.
But now looking back on it, I was like, absolutely, I'm so happy I broke that barrier. I'm not fighting this. Like, you know what? I am that way, and I am proud. I'm like, I'm owning it, because I'm not saying I'm proud of it. I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm just like, I lived my life so much out of this fear of people thinking I was a bad kid, or like doing stuff that wasn't cool around them, because I wanted them to like me. And I don't know, I finally broke and was like, you know what? I'm going to do the things that I like in front of everyone. Doesn't matter who it is. And then we talked about this, your friend, that was just like, I'm being me, and if you don't like it, you can fuck off.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I kind of have that mentality now. So like, I'm going to drink when I feel like I want to, and I'm going to make the same decisions in every group that I'm so comfortable with. I still struggle a little bit with self-identity, like, finding your place and that kind of deal. But I kind of came to terms with like who Martin is in the core, and can express that very well within any group. And if that group doesn't really coincide or doesn't like that, I move on. I'm like, okay, I'll find find people who do like it, find people who really vibe with you. And that's like the total opposite of the coin. So like I was trying to like save face for myself, but in reality I would have saved this whole exhaustion period of my life of like playing this this theatrics of life. I would have saved myself so many headaches or so many frustrations if I was just me from the start. Like, I wouldn't have had to have this falling out with my Christian friends, because I probably wouldn't have been friends with them in general, because they would have just, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I also like, don't, if you're someone like me, if you're like struggling with just like wanting to be like almost like fitting in, almost like you just kind of want to, I think it was a struggle of like, I tried to fit into every situation, and wanted to be cool in every situation. So I would gear my actions based on those issues. And I don't think I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I never like got drunk just because everyone else was, or I didn't do a certain drug or something like that, where just because people were, I kind of, like I said, I had this kind of core, standard to hold myself on situations. Because I had a limit, I think everyone has that limit. It's
two G's.
There was like,
what's up?
Yeah, it's screw you.
That's
no, that's so true though.
That's
so
the
true.
starting point for a great night with Marty.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know, and that's why and since I live that life so much, I think I recognize when people are doing that to me, which is why I don't want to judge them. Because I know that feeling of, hey, I just want you to think I'm cool and I want to have a good time.
Right.
And there's an extent of that I think you want to vibe with somebody. Initially, that's okay. But if you end up in a conversation and things go separate ways and you're like, okay, well, we didn't really click, or we didn't really have similar interests, that's okay. That's totally, like, I didn't think that was okay at one point. I was like, okay, they like softball, I'm going to have to like softball too. Or like, they like this, I'm going to have to like do that too. Or something like, small scale stuff, but I don't know. And I can recognize when people are doing that to me now. And I don't know, with music is a big one, with people who are wanting to play music with us. We're just jamming around and we think we're cool. We think, ourselves as like, a collective, we do a cool thing. So whenever we invite someone to play, sometimes genres don't mix up. Like, what if we can't, what if someone likes really techno-y music? It's like that. It's like, what if you just have different music tastes and you come and play music together? Sometimes you just don't mesh, but that's okay. Like, you guys are still playing music. You guys are still doing the same thing. It's just in a different way. Sorry, I'm kind of losing my train. I think I recognize when people are doing that. And the way I comfort that is to, like, ask questions really strictly for, like, instead of them to get to know me first, I want to get to know them first, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to be like, when they ask questions to get to know you, like, oh, where are you from? I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm from from Charlotte, North Carolina. And like, I'll be very vague. And then I'll try to like pick and pry things that they like to do and things that they're like their interest, and gear the conversation more to them, because I don't want them to think that I'm the cool one and they have to gear it towards me, if that makes sense. Because that's like, I don't know, it's a weird way to look at it. But I had that anxiety, so I know other people feel that too. And I like I said, I feel like I can recognize that a little bit. So I think the way I alleviate that is just making sure to put them on the spotlight, not in like a obtrusive way, or don't put the legit light on them and be like, oh. But I think it's a good way to make someone feel way more comfortable with saying the things that they actually like. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you're like I'm gonna be honest, I love anime, but that's something like, it's like, unless you get to know me, I mean, the whole world knows now, but like, it's like a thing where I initially wouldn't tell that to people because I'm scared of being an anime kid. And then I was like, you know what? I am it. Own it. Like, it's cool. Like, I do like cartoons. It's cool.
Yeah. Dude, I love that you say that. So I also want to talk about the self-judgments as well as those like outward judgments that we have. Because we judge ourselves to society standards of coolness, of attractiveness, of all these different nesses, you know what I mean? And so when we view ourselves as not meeting that bar, we get down on ourselves and we're just like, God, you're worthless. You're not good. What is wrong with you? Why aren't you even standard? Like, you're not above the bar. Why aren't you even at the bar? And that bar is completely hypothetical,
it's a total
and
made-up
completely
reality.
arbitrary. It's a total made-up reality. And so, oh man, I'm trying to think of specifically when I judged myself.
Yeah, you're your own worst
insanely
critic,
way
that's
too
for
much.
sure.
Like, 100%. Me, I think I'm ugly. I take that back. I think I'm medium ugly. I think there was this tweet that I saw like 2 years ago, and I still look at it sometimes because I feel it where it's like being medium ugly is the best because not everyone's going to think you're hot. So you still have to work hard at it. But some people do.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, dang. Like, that's the Twitter gospel, bruh.
So,
that's what that is.
Yeah.
But I think I'm not the most attractive person in the world, you know? And when I look at other people, I have friends who I think I'm like, God, you're a stud. Like, I'm just like, you're just an insanely attractive man. How do that? Like, I feel inadequate to be next to you. And I don't know. I put that weight on me, you know? I put that I judge myself way too hard for that sometimes. Even still, like 2 days ago, totally happened. But even though when people are looking out in the crowd, they're like, "Oh dang, like who's that hottie over there?"
That's
me. What me? You know, like it catches me by surprise, and I don't know. I think judging yourself, and like you said, we are our own worst critics to the point that when we judge ourselves, it's like life sentence. You can't grow anymore in this aspect. Like, you're ugly. You're going to stay ugly. And so you stop yourself from being able to get past that because you just throw that part of your personality or that part of your physicality, I guess, in this case, into a jail cell and throw away the key, never letting it get out again. You know what I mean?
Well, was that Judgment?
Ooh, and it's
yeah,
really
no, I was
tough
going to ask, was that
over.
Judgment hypened by someone saying that to you? Like, so you already had this self, that's something that's on your mind, that you judge yourself based on your appearance already, like initially. Before you meet anybody, you have that thought of like your own predetermined judgment of yourself. So has anyone ever said that to you that has like,
oh yeah, I've been called ugly a bunch of times, please.
I mean in a way where it actually hurts. Like, cause I feel like you're really, you have like a good core. If someone called you ugly and you don't even know the person or something, like, I feel like you're the type of, like, okay, cool, man. Like, does that make you feel better? Like, okay, move on. But the reason I say this,
I don't snark back
my
like that
snarkiness,
about being
it's
ugly.
like,
some things, yeah.
because I had insecurities about my height growing up because I was always the shortest kid in my class. Always did that, and when people pointed it out, I was just like, that's what everyone sees. That's what everyone is like. When they look at me, they don't think Martin, they think short. It's just like, okay, cool. And so it like
Martin Short, yeah.
Like it just stayed there. And it was just like this judgment that I made absolute, and I'm not going to grow. And then my senior year, I hit, I'm finally 5'9", and I'm like, oh my God, at least I'm not like, that judgment was so harsh that I thought being taller was a big deal. And like making that judgment, like oh my God, my life would be so perfect if I was just taller. And then like, when I finally hit it, I was like, damn, I'm still fucked up, and there's still a lot of things about me that I need to fix. But I thought the height thing would fix it. And because that judgment was so harsh on myself, Right. But it doesn't.
Right.
It like doesn't solve anything. It's I'm still a little critical about it. Like,
yeah. And 100%. Same here. Not about you, but like about me. Like,
hey,
let's clear that up.
I don't know. You can also have like a judgment on yourself that's too high. Think about.
You're not wrong. You're totally not wrong. That's those like incredibly just full of themselves, prideful people who think they can do no wrong. And I'm not going to say that everyone who does that is a narcissist, because I think that's a term that people throw out way too much. All the time. I hear that all the time, dude. But some people need to take off the rose tinted glasses on themselves and actually like, dang, I am kind of a jerk. Yeah. Like, how can I fix that?
Yeah.
So, same with me. It's just like, I am not like, I don't know. I've gotten better about my appearance over the years. I don't think I'm a,
Yeah, no,
the
you
swamp
are
thing.
fucking gorgeous. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I know you're not wrong. But, it's like people, at the end of the day, you have to understand that, at least for me, that people are going to have their opinions on you, and they're going to have their own tastes. They're going to have their own, types of people that they like to be around. And sometimes you're not going to fit that mold. And so if you don't fit that mold, there's a million other molds out there that, some of these people will love you for your, over the top, full of yourselfness. That's how, there are people, groups of people, groups of friends. I say that with quotes because they actually don't care about being around each other. They're just there to be like, yeah, I'm part of the group.
Yes.
What's up? Like, oh, yeah. Like how many, it's like celebrities whenever they, like celebrities only date celebrities because if they dated someone who wasn't a celebrity,
Yeah, it like ruins the image.
that would tarnish their image or something like that. That's bullshit. Get out of here with that. Come on now. Come on.
That's a really good point. I didn't even really think about that. Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
What specifically?
Like, I don't know, just the thing about being around people and you don't even like them. And this, oh my God, I saw a tweet the other day. Not the other day, just like whenever. But I saw the tweet was like, you don't have to be liked by everybody. You don't even like everybody. Period.
Yeah.
Like, think about the thing, like, if I in that scenario, it's kind of calmed me down because when I was being in these groups, certain friend groups and stuff that I wanted just to be cool, I wanted to be around because I thought they were cool, and they didn't really do things that I liked, and and I was just like, okay, I got to suffer it, to be a part of this group. And I read that quote and I was like, oh shit, you're
right.
So
yeah.
I don't even like them. Why am I like? I don't like everybody. Like, of course you're not gonna be like. I don't even like them. Why do I expect them to like me? And that it just like it flips you, and when you're self-aware in certain ways, you start with the things that you do. You kind of catch you, or the things that you're trying to do to other people. You catch yourself, and you're like, oh wow, okay. Like that comment right there was just like, oh wow, I was a part of this group. They did certain things and made certain decisions that I wasn't wanting to do, but I did them to be a part of something that I thought was cooler than me. And I just I just didn't want to be judged as not like it's like a little bit of the Michael Scott syndrome, a little bit. I'm not that cringy about it.
Yeah.
At least I hope.
I don't know.
I feel like, when you grow up, you just don't have the ability to make friends as easily. I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying, like, I'm kind of more attached to the.
You're in a lot less social
like,
situations.
Even if, like, when you're not even,
older.
I'm not even thinking about quarantine or like the pandemic or anything. I'm thinking about just when you get older, you're going to start caring more about your job, paying your bills, taking care of yourself. I think because I'm starting to exercise and eat a little bit better. I'm trying to anyway. And those things are just now starting. So, I'm in. Yeah.
Diet hot Cheetos, boy.
Diet hot Cheetos. Oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. I think your priorities change when you're getting older. So whenever you're thinking about those judgments that you used to really care about, you just kind of throw them out the window and they don't really matter anymore. And then you start learning that you trust your judgment a lot more when you get older, but those judgments have come from experience and have come from things that you have learned about yourself and things like that. So everyone judges, and everyone does it. But I think there's a threshold, when you get older. I wouldn't even call it being an asshole. I can instantly tell sometimes when things are not in the conditions that I feel comfortable in. And so, not being a part of some group or thinking that they're not gonna like me, is it's a lot more comfortable now. So I'm just like, and you just get to focus on your, I don't know, I'm just starting to focus on myself a lot more, which is new, because I've been usually so dependent on other people to fill my time and things. I don't know. I just, my self-judgment has gotten a lot better, which allows me to be more comfortable in situations that we put ourselves in. Gosh, that thought kind of just floated away from me. I'm sorry. Diet hot Cheetos. That's what broke me. I just that's, and I don't want to jump ship or anything, you know. I know, but judging people in their situations, it's always, okay, this is where I was going in this initial getting older. I used to judge people based on appearance, based on what they did that I thought was cool, who they hung out with, really didn't matter. And getting older.
Can you repeat that one more time? You kind of cut out a little bit.
When I was younger, I used to judge people based on appearance. I used to judge them based on the things that they thought were cool, and just I think like very surface level attributes about themselves. And when I got older, my judgments have changed. Now I don't give a shit what you look like. Now I don't give a shit how you sound, where you're from. Those things don't even come to mind when I meet you. It's I think my judgment now is coming more based on your character. I think when you get older, you can kind of see through bullshit a little bit easier, and so character starts to develop in conversation like a lot more quickly than when you get older. Because at least for me, like I don't have the time to get to know people like that anymore. And so when I'm in a situation, I'm going to be more real and I'm going to be more up forward with myself because we're not going to be hanging out every day like we were when we were kids to get to know each other. We're going to have an hour here. Next week we might see each other. Maybe next week we may not. You know what I mean? Making friends like that is, so you have to get to the point real quick, whether you like to judge. So I don't know, like my judging is like, oh, are you nice to people? Or like, how much do you care about certain situations? And the thing I've learned about that is getting older. Like I know I'm running in circles. I'm sorry. This is a judgment that I would probably make back then, but I wouldn't now. So going to asking somebody what they do for a living, and if they're my age, like let's say they're 26, they go, oh, I'm a server, or I work at Hollister, something like that. Like something that's like hourly wage, something that's, that's kind of just like low key. And they're my age. And I have a job as like a geologist with Arcadis. Like if I was that, I have this judgment on like, oh, well, I'm not better than you in any means. I'm not saying that. I just have like you haven't like I'm not saying I think this way. I'm just saying there's been scenarios of like, oh, people have, what did you do with your life to mess up, and like all this stuff and like all these judgment things. But now, like I would never make that judgment because I had a 9-to-5 making great money being a geologist, and now I want something low key. I want to like go back to being a server. I want to like work in a shop where I'm just sweeping floors. I just want to chill. I just want to take a second to breathe. And so now if I was to meet someone like that, like, what are you up to? Oh, I'm a server at this place. You have no idea what their backstory is. Maybe they're in the same boat I am and saying, hey, they're just taking a break too, and they're going back to something. So you could be talking to Einstein, but he could be your server. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. We have such a quick trigger finger when it comes to these judgment calls that we don't necessarily take the time to even consider understanding where people are in their life. Something terrible could have happened. Maybe they did have this great this very prestigious job, and the CEO was actually caught embezzling money, and the firm got shut down, so now they're a server at whatever job they could find. It's like you don't know what people are going through. You don't know their situations in life. and or just the type of environment they're trying to put themselves. Maybe they had a great job and they absolutely hated it, and being a bartender is so much fun and just it makes them happy. We have all these societal just benchmarks, of where are you in life. Okay, so you and I were 25, 26 years old. By society's viewpoint, we should be trying to close in on our first house right now. You know what I mean? And Allison and I, we had this conversation the other day. It's like, man, if this was the 1950s, we'd be getting a whole bunch of flack for not being married and on our third kid with a house. Like,
absolutely.
At 25 years old, like, what? I don't know. And so, I won't say that judgments are bad. And I say that because, sometimes as you get to know someone and just evidence piles up of, okay, yeah, this guy is a shithead. Yeah, this guy does suck to be around. Then it makes it's a confirmation of your gut feeling. But I've met people who, the first time I met them, I thought they were obnoxious. I thought they were annoying. I thought they were terrible people. But 2 months down the line, they, are the ones that help me move. They are the ones that, want to help me with a problem or have my back during some significant thing. And I'm just like, damn, I was totally wrong about that. Like, what, how did I mess that up? And so it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to eventually, decide whether or not you want to be around a person or not. But give it a little bit of time and understanding, and actually understand why you don't like this person or what it is about them that you don't really care for. Because who knows? Yeah, you could be in for some really cool shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And
if
that's
you just give it a chance.
Is like you're belittling your the possibility of building a relationship with somebody in any way if you're throwing out judgments. Okay, so I don't like, your job doesn't make you who you are. You're not always.
Not always. Some people, their career is their personality.
And that's another thing. You could be your work, which is great for, if you meet someone, that could work in some environment, and great. And I have no judgment. Like I said, I'm no judgment on any of these personality types or things. But the things that I was talking, like, I learned not to be judgmental on, like, your job, things that you're interested in, unless, extremes, things that like genuinely make you happy. Like, who am I to judge on, like, maybe I don't like that, and maybe it's out of my comfortability as a person to do something like that, or but it's not me to judge you on that decision, because that's your happiness. You're worried about your self-growth and your fulfillment. And who am I to go against you and tell you that that's wrong, or like, oh, that's weird, or that's, and because that makes other, like, if you're judging people, that's like, it's just a mean thing to do. Like, just because it's not normal to you doesn't mean it's not normal to someone else. Like, I don't know. And I'm going to paint like a really dumb example. But I don't really,
Picasso.
I like ketchup on my eggs. Exactly. So if I met a chef and he was like, "You do what?" and judged me so harshly based on that, like, we can't even be in the same room.
This is blasphemy. Like,
yeah. But just like one attribute about myself that disagrees with the way that you live makes you not want to be in the same room with me, or like not want to progress anything. Like, I don't know, just judgments like that, because it has nothing to do with you. Am I making you eat ketchup on your eggs? Am I making you do that? Am I gonna not like you because you don't eat ketchup on your? No. So I want that reciprocated. I want you to be who you are. I want to be who I am, and I want you to judge me based on my character and how I treat you and things like that, but not necessarily about the things externally that don't matter, like your job. And another thing that really bothers me is like where you come from. You don't choose that. Everyone that's born into this world never got the
Dude.
option to say if they wanted to be
I feel
or not.
that.
So, that's what. Exactly. You
I didn't
know,
have a
you
travel
didn't go,
agent
I
in the
want to
womb,
pick
man.
Chicago. I want to be born in. You
Couldn't
have
do
no
it.
idea where you're going to be born as a human. It's
Yeah.
just this unlucky. Like some people think it is unlucky. It's like, oh, I didn't ask for this. It's a roll of the dice,
No,
and
it's just a roll of the
when
dice.
you,
Yeah.
especially making judgments on people, like determining their intelligence or determining their social abilities or determining their own thought processes from like a standard of they came from somewhere completely different from you. Judgment is like not even like, it kind of just goes over my head, or like, I just dismiss them because there's like, oh man, like your environment that you grew up, especially if it's 100% different than mine, I can't speak for anything. Like if you like had some scenario where you made a decision that I'm all right. Kind of losing. Okay. I don't know. Like we kind of talked about this in the directness thing, where so I was raised in the South, and my parents and my whole family and like I think just society in the South does this thing where they beat around the bush and they're not direct. And we talked about this in the communications thing. They're not direct, and then when you are, you take it as mean. And it's like, oh shit. So I'm going to judge you and you're mean because you're so direct, and I don't like that. But let's say like, you grew up in like Brooklyn, New York, or something where it's like it's hustling and bustling, and you ain't got no time to do anything. You ain't got time to talk about the weather. You don't have anything like that, and so you're going to be super direct. I want this. I want it now. Blah blah blah. I need my money and I need it now. I don't like. There's things where like if people are like that in a certain way, because it's maybe way you were raised. Maybe it's the way who you actually are. I don't know. It's taking considerations of other people's. I'm not saying belittle your judgment always. That you can. I think you can dismiss every judgment on somebody if you go, oh, well, I don't know where they come from, But like if someone was mean to you, you could be like, oh, I don't. Maybe they have something going on in their life or something. I think that's a great consideration to make, and to not hold someone accountable for certain stuff that you think is wrong. If that, like someone being direct, you're holding them accountable for being mean. It's like, no, they just told you what they wanted or what they needed. And
yeah, exactly. Like for me, like I've mentioned before, I would have, communication problems with my mom. And when I was younger, I was like, God, Mom, my mom she just wants to be this, she wants to be that. She's so mean. She doesn't really care about this. Like, she just doesn't know how. And the older I got, the more I realized, how she was raised. This is how she was taught to communicate. And I was like, dang, all right, well, my judgment call was a little off on there. Like, I didn't take any personal experience into consideration. And that changes. That changes my mindset on, my relationship with my mother. Like, it's gotten better over the years. And I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still some hard parts, like, but being able to look at the way she thinks through her eyes, cleared things up for me, and made me more empathetic to the situation and cast some of my judgments aside that I had in the past. And that only made, one, our relationship better, two, just me as a person better, because then I can translate that over into other relationships that I have with people, or into just new people that I meet. The first thing out of someone's mouth isn't going to be my calling card for how I see these people. It takes a little time. And I just have to have some patience too, because we live in this day and age where where sorry, old man Jordan's coming out. Oh, when I was a boy. Where everything is so immediate and so fast, and 2-day shipping. It's going to take 2 days to get here.
Yeah, for real.
Come on, Jeff Bezos. What's going on? 20 years ago, people had to wait 6 to 8 weeks to get, the Ultimate Love Songs collection in the mail. And so now that only translates into us, being impatient with other people, in the fact that, oh wow, I can't, it's like trying to decipher a book in the first 2 pages. Like, you're not taking the time to read it through. Don't judge a book by its cover, Yeah, don't do that.
It's a golden rule.
It's a golden rule for a reason. It's like, yeah, I don't know. We just have to be more patient with our decision making on people and be more considerate about, some people are just different, and that's good where they come from or where they are or how they view it. So
and usually, like,
why not?
And this is the case for most things. If you meet a person who's an asshole, you
just
good.
Kind of froze
I think
up,
this is the case for most things, where you're. Yeah. The reason we have these judgments and we hold people so harshly to those judgments, and then later, like years later, we're like, we come to a realization, like, they're not really like that. My judgment of them was wrong. It's because you never get, like, to me, you just, like, when you make a judgment like that, it's like what we were talking about. You just cut them off. Like, there's no room for growth. So if they are an asshole when you first meet them, it's okay to make that judgment, especially if they're treating you unwell, like an asshole. But 5 years from now, you meet someone that knows that person. They're like, oh my God, no, man, they're the nicest person I've ever met in my life. And you go, oh, no, they're not. Nah, man. Like, let me tell you all about this.
What?
And it's like, you can bring up that story, but it's not. That's like you have to bring it up in a way of like, oh, I'm so glad that they progressed themselves as a person, and now they're not like that. And I would want to meet someone again and be like, hey, man, like, we kind of had some beef. I did this with my friend Hank from high school. We weren't friends in high school. We kind of hated each other a little bit. Yeah, Hank the Tank. Like, we hated each other. We had some beef in high school for whatever reason, just high school anxiety. And he lives in New York now.
Propane's better.
So I had this judgment on him. He's like an asshole. I don't want to be friends with him ever in my life, and blah, blah, blah. And moving to Philly, he lives in New York, so we're really close now. Right. I messaged him over Instagram and was like, hey, man, I moved to Philly. I hang out in New York. I got some friends that live there. I would love to grab a drink and hang out sometime. And he was like, absolutely, man. I would love that. I would love to catch up and like see what's going on. And now I bet when I meet him, it's going to be a good time. I bet like we have both, specifically looking at me, I am a completely different person from high school. And I bet he is too. And that's like, he's proven all these predetermined judgments because people change. And that's, it's so funny. Like, I'm never going to hold someone who I've known a long time ago to the same standard that, it's almost like starting anew. Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to, like, my judgments of you are like, they're still there. Yeah. I had them when I had them, but I'm not holding you to those judgments anymore. We're starting new, man. Like, let's start this new plate. And I'm not going to judge you for, like, your jobs now. I'm not going to judge you for things like your life path and the things like, I mean, I'm just more educated and more, like, I think it's a maturity thing too, is just like, I'm not here to control anyone's life, and my perception of the way your life is going doesn't matter. In the way of, if I tell you my personal feelings, it's probably just going to make everyone hate me. And like, I'm not saying that in a way I don't want them to hate me. I'm just like, I'm not an asshole. Why am I going to care about what you're doing? If that makes you happy, like, just go for it, dude. I don't. And so we rekindled this friendship, and I haven't, we haven't hung out yet or anything, but like, at least it's there. At least, we both came to terms with that situation from high school. We're like, okay, we know we're different people now. Those judgments don't hold up. Let's kind of like rework this. We're not gonna be best friends. But it's I don't know. I just I mean, I guess so. It's like you're. That. I just literally judged him in that scenario. You're so right. Call me out, motherfucker. Like, we could be. I just belittled our potential. You're so right. God. Holy shit. Yeah, you literally caught me.
You just squashed it before it even started.
Like, I'm a hypocrite right now. And so that's the thing. You jump to. We're not gonna be best friends, but you never know. Like, don't say shit like that. Don't jump to conclusions. Man, I'm sorry, Hank. We can be best friends if you're listening. Like, that's not a.
Oh, man.
I guess that was a judgment I held him. Like, we weren't friends then. We weren't gonna be this
Oh
or
my
that. That's
gosh.
literally what I just said not to do. Jesus Christ. I'm getting better. I am. Thank you, Jordan.
All right, everybody. I think this is a perfect place to stop.
Oh,
Martin
God,
having
I'm
a
almost ashamed
realization
of
on
myself.
mic.
Like,
Oh Lord.
no,
don't be,
I'm glad.
dude.
I'm glad.
You're
I
totally
have you
good.
here to,
You're totally good.
to balance me. This is what this is about. But absolutely. Well, this has been great. I'm so happy to have you back,
Oh,
Jordan.
man.
We're gonna keep, we're gonna continue this journey on talking.
Dude.
So, but you can follow
This was
us.
so
at,
needed.
Oh
It really was. I
no,
need
no,
some
you're good. Go for it.
Oh, sorry. I was about to say I needed some good, insightful goofing. Need some good,
Meaningful
insightful
fun.
goofing. Yeah, dude. Meaningful.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you can follow us
Oh,
on
man.
Instagram at Almost Cool Pod, or at Jordan Hooter _ or at creation _ of Martin. Please, we have several people message us over Instagram, and you can also write into our email at almostcoolpod@gmail.com if you have any questions, concerns, things you want us to elaborate on. If you want to have just a conversation with us at some point, we would love to pick your brain, and for us to pick our brains, because that's what we're all here for. And we'll keep this ball rolling.
Yeah.
With more juicy topics.